All right, this is getting really, really bad. Welcome, everybody. The big news, as I'm sure you might have already heard about, but we have an update on it, is that emails, private emails of Epstein's, have been released. Essentially, what the Oversight Committee Democrats are doing is, if we're waiting and waiting for Adelita Grijalva to be sworn in, and maybe Republicans are going to start withdrawing their name for this discharge petition, so we're just going to take matters into our own hands, still push for the release of the government documents, but also pursue the estate documents with subpoenas, which is what they've done, and they got their hands on some stuff. And there are some bombshell quotes in these emails that Epstein wrote naming Trump in different ways, and it leads to headlines like this. We'll, of course, look at the emails, but then talk about what Trump is doing in response to them, which adds a lot of concern. Epstein mentioned, CNN reports, Trump multiple times in private emails, new release shows. And before getting into the details of that, you have now multiple outlets reporting. Here's a New York Times reporter reporting that Trump himself called Lauren Boebert, the Republican congresswoman, is one of only 4 Republicans who are supporting this discharge petition that would force a vote to force the DOJ to release the files. And Trump's calling Boebert regarding her signing onto the Epstein petition, and spoke to her yesterday, I'm told. Trump playing phone tag with Mace, trying to get Mace to also not support this. So far, they're not planning to remove their names from the petition. But we'll get to Mace. She's starting to act pretty bizarre. Maybe Trump got through to her. So now it's not just Trump's staffers. Trump's actually getting on the phone and saying, Boebert, don't you dare force us to release the Epstein files. And a part of that could be because of what we're learning in just the estate documents. What on earth could be in the government documents? Of course, that's the assumption. Before diving into that, people are just reminding Boebert, since she's getting this pressure now, of what she said in the past. Look at some of these old tweets. Every pedo associated with Jeffrey Epstein deserves to be punished to the full extent of the law. There should be no safe haven for them. Ghislaine Maxwell deserves to rot behind bars for the rest of her days, and the public deserves to know every single person involved in the Epstein sex trafficking network. We deserve to know the whole truth, not just some vague court sketches. You have her also saying this: today would be a great day for Epstein's client list to be made public. And then finally, Marsha Blackburn just filed a subpoena to get the Epstein flight logs. How is it that anyone could stand against releasing these logs unless they themselves are expecting to be found on them? So that's what she was saying back in 2023. To her credit, she hasn't yet withdrawn her name. Adelita Grijalva, maybe as we speak, supposedly today is finally going to be sworn in, and then they should have enough votes. But Trump's having a mad dash, also a meeting to say, we got to prevent this. And I ask, a lot of the response from some within MAGA, definitely the administration, is this is Democrats trying to exploit the issue to hurt Trump. This is them trying to smear Trump. First of all, I'll let you read the emails yourself, but also, why is there any debate here? However big of a supporter you might be of Trump, how do you not see, at very least, and I don't think this is it, but at very least, that it is just wrong how hard he's fighting to prevent transparency on this? Then he was posting, the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown. They were winning on the polling of that, but okay. And so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. So I guess saying publicly what he's also saying privately to these Republicans. Okay, let's start getting some insight on why he's panicking so much. What in these emails has been revealed? While we go through this, if you appreciate these updates, please do click the subscribe button on YouTube. It helps to continue you getting these videos recommended.
And Kate, I also think it's important to remember the background of all of this in which these emails are being released, because this is set to only probably inflame the debate that's already been happening here in Washington about releasing more documents that the Justice Department has on its hands when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And these are new emails that are being released by the House Oversight Committee. They got their hands on these emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate after the committee sent a bipartisan subpoena from Republicans and Democrats to Jeffrey Epstein's estate earlier this year. And in these emails, which we're told are some 23,000 documents that the committee has its hands on, there are 3 emails that mention Donald Trump specifically. And they all come from the last 15 years or so, which is after Jeffrey Epstein negotiated that sweetheart deal back in 2008 in Palm Beach, Florida. And in them, Jeffrey Epstein himself, Kate, is mentioning Donald Trump. And let me just read you the first one. This is the oldest email of the 3 that have been released. It's from April 2nd, 2011. And in this email, Jeffrey Epstein is writing this message to Ghislaine Maxwell, who, of course, is currently serving time for sex trafficking underage women, underage girls in Texas right now, in that new prison camp that she's been moved to. But
against protocol, for some reason, after Trump's former attorney met with her.
Jeffrey Epstein, according to this email that we reviewed, emails Ghislaine Maxwell and says, "I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. There's a name that's redacted, which the committee says is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein's, and that redacted spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." Now, Kate, Ghislaine Maxwell responds to that email and says, "I have been thinking about that." We don't get any more context to this email or what exactly Jeffrey Epstein is alleging there and what he is saying, but obviously he's speaking here in this email to someone who was one of his closest confidants, and it turns out his accomplice when it comes to sex trafficking underage women. And Trump
So all of these are pretty lacking of the context. So I admit we're having to speculate about exactly what is meant by "he's the dog that hasn't barked." But my reading of that is that he hasn't, when they reference the police chief and other people, he hasn't cooperated with law enforcement. Trump hasn't outed Epstein. He hasn't revealed what he knows about Epstein. That feels like a fair assessment of what it means to be the dog that hasn't barked. But again, we don't know for certain. And then there's a lot more. That one on the left here is the one that she just read to you. Then let me click on this one and we'll read another one. This is, Michael Wolff, which some of these emails, I'm very confused about what Michael Wolff was doing, giving Epstein advice. Reporting, interviewing is one thing, but like giving him personal advice grosses me out. But Michael Wolff has done a lot of reporting on Jeffrey Epstein and was communicating with him a lot, and is the person that's emailing back and forth with Epstein in this one. So redacted, Mar-a-Lago, redacted. Trump said he asked me to resign. This is from Epstein to Michael Wolff. Never a member, ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So that one, a lot of these emails were Epstein talking to different people about what was being said by Trump publicly. And this is in 2019. 2019, this email is being sent. And so it sounds like Epstein saying, Trump is making the claim that he kicked me out of Mar-a-Lago. He asked me to resign as a member, but I was never even ever a member there. And he knew about the girls and asked Ghislaine to stop, whatever that means. And that kept coming up, him trying to refute, even privately, Trump's distancing of himself from Epstein. Then you have Michael Wolff emailing Epstein and says, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump. This is 2015 during the primary before a CNN debate. I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. And then Epstein responds to Michael Wolff saying, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? To which Michael Wolff responds, why are we discussing this? I don't know. Maybe it's to get more information about Epstein so he could report on it. Little too chummy for my taste, but I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't, that's a crazy foreshadowing. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR or political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So that's what journalist Michael Wolff was saying in response to Epstein as they discuss what is Trump going to say at this CNN debate. And what makes me really uncomfortable is, number one, them saying if Trump tries to distance, you then have a lot of dirt on him because that wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be accurate, which is what we've already known. Every time Trump's like, what? Epstein, I barely knew the guy. Obviously, they were really close friends for a while. And then, secondarily, advising Epstein in this way, you could use this as something beneficial to you, knowing how horrific Epstein was, makes me question Michael Wolff's character, to be frank. But I also do see a lot of the reporting that we've gotten out of him to be valuable. Then you have this, see another example, like what from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. There's an opportunity to come forward this week and talk about Trump in such a way that could garner you great sympathy and help finish him. Interested? Yeah, I guess trying to goad Epstein into revealing everything he knew about Trump was correct. So you know what? I take that back a little bit. Maybe Wolff was trying to Jedi mind trick Epstein into just going public with everything he knows about Trump. And so he's like, hey, this could benefit you. So, okay, all right. That's an alternative explanation for sure. That does make some sense. Then there's other ones that you just can't exactly decipher what's happening. From Epstein to Reed Weingarten saying, have one of your cronies asked to see the mortgage to Mar-a-Lago, cash from Electricians Union. His driver, M-A-T-T, was the bag man later, or Matt. Oh, his driver, Matt. Sorry, it's written weird. Was the bag man, later made an exec at the public company, and the $30 million loan from the casino to Donald Trump, backdated. Another one talked about how dirty Trump is, and obviously that could relate to girls, but it could also relate to his business and what Epstein knew about what Trump was doing wrong in the business world. Then someone else, this is Landon Thomas Jr. is emailing with Epstein, and this is in 2015 also talking about what's being said in the media. And then there's just a lot of text, but to summarize it, Epstein is saying, well, I could give you photos of Trump with girls in bikinis in my kitchen to prove what's being denied by Trump's campaign is ridiculous. Again, even with that, I have photos of Trump with girls in bikinis in my kitchen. A lot of these emails are him saying, oh, out there on the campaign, he's acting like he barely knows me, but that's not true. Confirming what we've known. And then Trump's calling people. He's then scheduling an emergency meeting to figure out what to do on this.
Breaking news, CNN has learned there will be a meeting today inside the White House as aides try to manage a potential House vote on the release of the Epstein files. This comes, of course, just hours after Democrats on the Oversight Committee released emails from Jeffrey Epstein himself mentioning Donald Trump by name multiple times. I want to get straight to CNN.
Think about how sick that is. They're holding a meeting to figure out what to do on the House vote, how to manage the House vote. Hey, publicly say, you don't even need to vote on this. We're releasing everything now. That's how you need to manage it. Could not be more jaw-dropping behavior here. Now, then the White House tries to respond. You remember the victim that Epstein said Trump spent a lot of time with at Mar-a-Lago or at Epstein's place? As he was saying that Trump knew. The White House then goes, hey, they redacted the name. That was dishonest by Democrats because that was Virginia Giuffre. And Giuffre said about Trump, quote, couldn't have been friendlier, adding that he offered to help her find babysitting work. To which Jon Favreau says, congrats on the president being friendly to girls he knew were a part of an underage sex ring, I guess. Yeah, well, I'm not exactly sure how that's fake. See, we exposed the fake news. The victim he spent significant amount of time with was Giuffre, and she said he didn't commit a crime against her and couldn't have been friendlier. But if he knew what was going on, being friendly, yeah, it's better than abusing Giuffre. But is that good? That he wasn't actually trying to pursue justice or help the girls that he apparently knew personally. Trump also went reportedly nuclear at, they call it, blundering cabinet ally over the Epstein interview, Howard Lutnick. It was Howard Lutnick. And it was, you have those quotes, it was where these quotes came from.
It's gross. Oh, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick.
And that was when he told his experiences with Epstein and said, why do people not want these documents to be released? Because they're implicated. Trump was not happy about that at all. Another thing that keeps happening is that, like you saw with Boebert, also J.D. Vance, a lot of these Republicans, you can just kind of show their words back to them to prove that they're being really dishonest now. Like in 2021, J.D. Vance was saying, remember when we learned that our wealthiest and most powerful people were connected to a guy who ran a literal child sex trafficking ring, and then that guy died mysteriously in a jail, and now we just don't talk about it? And now he's going to have to probably be a part of that meeting and run defense. So, what was Fox News doing about this? That's an interesting question. Well, I saw a headline from Mediaite that went, Fox News' first mention of Trump Epstein revelation was hours late and impossibly vague. This was the first mention all day. When I woke up, all over everything that I cover was this, or everything that I follow was this. So this was the story of the day. And Fox News hadn't talked about it, and then this is the first mention. And let's see how thorough it is.
Lawmakers begin voting to end the shutdown. The speaker will be swearing in a Congresswoman-elect, Adelita Grijalva. She won the Arizona...
Grijalva, my goodness. They're just really terrible over there at pronunciations.
7th in a special election after her father, who held the post, died earlier this year. Democrats have been furious that she hadn't been sworn in until today, so that will be happening. And then we expect more of the Jeffrey Epstein controversy to make its way back up here to Capitol Hill. She's expected to sign on to a discharge position, which would eventually force, in a few weeks, a vote on whether or not to get the Department of Justice to release all of its files on Jeffrey Epstein. It's a story that will continue to bubble up here on Capitol Hill, including some new developments today from the House Oversight Committee. Harris.
Mark, thank you. A New York Post column highlights what this means for the White House. And here's the argument, quote, the collapse of Chuck Schumer's shutdown gambit serves as a...
That's kind of strange, no? The big story, Trump's freaking out about it, and the reporter goes, so Adelita Grijalva is going to be sworn in. That has something to do with the discharge petition, and there's some other updates about the oversight and some things they found. So anyways, back to you. Chuck Schumer's shutdown was really bad. Goodness gracious. I referenced earlier Nancy Mace. She's one of the people playing phone tag with Trump as he's trying to get her to not support the discharge petition. And all of a sudden, she starts posting things like this. As a survivor, I find it deeply offensive that Democrats would use Epstein victims to bury headlines about the vote to reopen the government today. Today of all days. What the heck is wrong with you people? You just keep reminding women and survivors you don't support us. Hey, your guy is the one preventing transparency, thus full justice. That's your guy. What do you mean today of all days? Yeah, because everyone's back in D.C., so they're getting back to work on this. They told you they would. Democrats told you they're gonna keep pushing this until they actually get transparency. So this was a step in that direction, and the shutdown ending news kind of passed. Like, it hasn't actually formally happened. Trump's going to do it today. But we all kind of know that's where it's going because of the deal that was made. What is it that's bad for Democrats about that? Then she also posts, I'm so sick of the fake news focusing on Trump and not Epstein victims. Everyone knows Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, not according to Epstein, and Epstein victims had exonerated the president. Ignoring the victim stories ignores the pandemic of sexual violence in our country. Stop gaslighting and start telling the victim stories. Makes me sick. Those who abuse underage girls need to see jail time. Tell that story. Nancy, first of all, weird after Trump named you as someone he was going to convince that now you're posting this after supporting the release. Number two, tell that story. That's what we're trying to do. Why is there so much attention on Trump? Because he's the guy who's preventing the release. It's really that simple. It's so strange how they go, well, what about this? What about this? Virginia Giuffre said this. Well, Trump, we believe, kicked Epstein out. We believe that after 15 years of friendship, he finally realized Epstein was a creep. So nothing. It's all very simple. You say tell that story, that's exactly what can be done if the story will be released. And if there's nothing bad about Trump, I mean, we already have bad things, but if you believe there's disingenuous reporting going on, what better to exonerate him than transparency? But also, Nancy is just in a really... none of us know what's going on with Nancy in general, so I don't know. You can't really try to logic with Nancy lately. She has been nonstop posting about airports now. And I don't mean the shutdown. I mean that there's a conspiracy to target her at the Charleston airport. So the story goes, sorry, we're doing a little Nancy Mace tangent, but the story goes, she showed up to the airport. The security was a little late to pick her up to escort her. She lost her mind, started swearing at them. Then after that went public, she accused them of falsifying the report about her, berating them and calling them effing incompetent. And so now she's on a warpath against the Charleston airport, which is the most Nancy Mace thing ever. So she writes, I was allegedly randomly selected by TSA in the Charleston airport for extra surveillance. What are the odds? It gets better. I've been told I'm the only elected official who got that special treatment. Totally random, I'm sure. To whoever greenlit this amateur hour intimidation tactic, did you think I'd be scared or flattered? Go ahead and make my day. Waste your time, waste taxpayer money, waste whatever credibility you had left. Hold the line. Nancy Mace, establishment enemy number one. Because we all know the epitome of the establishment is the Charleston airport. She keeps posting, airport staff for Mace. And then an edit of her in an airport. Walked into the Charleston International Airport like I just owned the place after our press conference this morning. Picked up a rental car to get to D.C. to reopen the government. We were met with outstanding support. Thank you to everyone coming forward about what's really going on at the airport. Keep it up. Hold the line. No one knows what you're talking about, Nancy. I don't know why you're at war with the Charleston airport. I don't care, number one, and I don't know. I don't care, as the saying goes.